welcome to another episode of the Art of Never Giving Up podcast. And as always, I have a very special guest in the building today. I just met this young lady probably like a week ago. And I really was going to take a pause from filming my podcast because I thought I had done enough. I got to figure out how to distribute it. But a story was so amazing. I just booked some more time. So I was like, I got to get you on. People got to hear this. Like, this is phenomenal. So I'm grateful that she's going to be here to share our story with us. But with no further ado, welcome Miss Lacey Tezino. How did I do?
You did good.
All right. Boom. Okay, that's good. I didn't mess the name up. Okay, Lacey. So let's jump right into it. Tell us where you're from.
I knew you were going to jump right into it.
Let's just jump right into it. Tell us where you're from.
I grew up in Vidor, Texas.
Vidor, Texas. If you're not familiar with the great state of Texas, and for the people who are not familiar with the great state of Texas, give us a little history on Vidor, Texas, could you please, Lacey?
Warren.
You want me to give it a history?
No.
Okay.
First, I want to say, when I tell people that I'm from Vidor, the physical reaction that people have tells it all, right?
Absolutely.
Somebody will say, where are you from? I say Vidor. It's always like a gasp and a, like, what?
Absolutely.
It's not just black people. It's white people. It's Asian people. Anyone who is from the South, anyone who understands that Vidor is historically known as a sundown town.
Yes.
It is known where black people were not welcome after dark. I lived there 18 years. I won't even say it was after dark. Middle of the day, you're not welcome there. Like, Vidor is an interesting place. It was a rough place. Still is. So to sum it up, it is a backwoods, historically sundown town.
Yeah, I know when you told me you were from Vidor, I've shared that with about 10 people since last week. Since all right, and every single one of them, like that, at that point, I had their full attention.
Mm-hmm.
Like when I was like, "No, I'm this amazing black chick, and she's from Vidor." And it's like the record scratches.
Every
it's
time.
like.
Every time.
She black and from Vidor. If you don't know Vidor, Texas, I grew up before these Apple Maps was on cars. I grew up before MapQuest when you just heading somewhere out of town and people tell you certain things to do and don't do when you go out of town. Fill up your gas, pack a lunch, fry some chicken, put it in the bag. Don't ever stop in Vidor for anything.
Yes.
For anything. As a black person, we knew Vidor was do the speed limit, 10 and 2 on the wheel.
Yeah.
How did you get to Vidor, Texas?
So I was adopted by a gay, white, one-armed man who owned a bar off of Montrose. So at that time, he was living his lifestyle did not allow for him to have a child. Okay. So my mom was a regular at the bar, and she walks in one day and she's pregnant with me, but she's thinking about having an abortion. She's pretty sure, like, man, I can't have this kid. I'm wilding right now. I'm in the bar drinking and I'm pregnant.
Right.
Oh
my God.
So here she is sitting here drinking with me, and she's pouring her heart out, telling the bar owner, I'm having this baby, and he says, I'll pay you for your child. Right then and there.
Wow.
She's not sober at this point. So he's like, look, let's meet up tomorrow. He's like, listen, I really want to talk to you about this. I've been wanting a child. Like, if you don't want your child, I'll take it, whatever it is. So they meet up the next day, and he says, no, I was serious about it, but he's like, you got to get sober. He said, I'm going to put you in this place called The Shoulder. It was there in Montrose. I'm going to put you in rehab. I'll pay for everything. I'll pay for your food, your room, everything. You've got to stay clean until you have the baby in order for me to take it. She agrees. She says, all right. He pays, puts her up. She has me. And that day, or a month before I was born, they signed the adoption papers.
Wow.
But they signed it, like my birth certificate reads white. They don't even do the race anymore. At that time, they said that both of the races of the parents were white. They did not tell the hospital that I was adopted. So the story was,
oh wow,
that they were together and that he was my father, right? So I come, the next month I'm born. He takes me from the hospital. I'm his. That was it. And so we lived in Houston for my first 18 months. He kept running the bar. He had cancer and it came back.
Okay.
So he got really sick when I was about 18 months old. And we had to move with his parents, invite her. And so here he is. He done left this town. He's gay. Not being black is not cool in Viter, but being gay is really not cool in Viter either. Or was not at the time.
Yeah,
right?
I'd assume definitely not.
So we have to leave Houston. We get back there. So here he is showing up with a black baby. And he's like, okay, I have this kid. They knew. Not like it was a secret.
Okay.
I'm 18 months old, so they knew.
Okay.
But that's how I ended up in Viter. He got sick. It was never his plan for us to go back there. He was going to raise me in Houston, but it didn't happen that way.
What is his name? What's your dad's name?
Ronnie Huckabee.
Shout out to Ronnie Huckabee. What a phenomenal man, right?
Yeah.
How many months was your mom when he had the conversation?
It was early. She was only a few months old because a few months old. She was only a few months pregnant because she ended up staying in the shoulder. There was one little incident. She had to go to jail while she was pregnant. So she went to the shoulder. She had to go sit out some issues that she had. So she went to jail.
Okay.
And then she came back to the shoulder. So she was probably only about 2 months old, 2 months pregnant.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So he hung out that whole pregnancy.
The whole time, took care of her.
And he brings you back. Now he leaves Viter, a gay man, I'm pretty sure, because Viter wasn't accepting of him. And then he comes back with a little black baby.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Who speaks Spanish because my nanny was from Mexico.
Oh, the story just gets more interesting.
So when I got there, they're all trying to like tell me, oh, go get that ball, go get this. And I'm just staring at him. And he's like, she speaks Spanish.
Oh my God. Oh, this little black baby whose English is her second language.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh, I'm pretty sure your grandparents must have been thrilled.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this go? So you're in Viter, 18 months, you and your dad are back. His cancer has came back. Mm-hmm. And you are raised in Viter as a young white baby, because that's what your birth certificate says at that time. Pick up from there, please.
So the next few years, he had a lot of treatment. So he was back and forth to Houston a lot. He stayed in the hospital. My grandma would go back and forth with him. And so he passed away when I was 6.
Okay.
So until then, it was just, kind of hanging out at the house. I have an amazing family. Everyone helped raise me. I was everyone's favorite, right? I was the favorite granddaughter, favorite cousin. Like, everyone loved me. So it was like I got all the attention. I got all the love. Like, it was a problem for most of the other kids in the family because it was just like I just sucked up the room and the people and everything. And so when people were like, man, you must have been mistreated. You must have been like, how was it? It was hard. Huh? I was like, man, like I was spoiled.
What?
Yeah. And I mean, also, you can't really be mean to someone whose dad's dying, right? Like,
very true. Very
true. People, when they know your parent is sick and you only got one of them, people are, they give you a lot of grace. And so he passes when I'm 6, and then my grandparents raised me. I stay with them. They're amazing. I stay there all the way until I graduate. And so through junior high, high school, I mean, I was class president, class favorite, homecoming queen, prom queen. Like, it's like people say, man, it must have been really tough. I'm like, y'all, I was like floating through the experience on the surface.
Wow.
On the surface, I did a damn good job fitting in Viter.
I feel like it should have been a expose however many years ago that Vider had a black homecoming queen. I feel like it should have been an expose. Like,
So I didn't go to Vider High School.
Okay.
There's a little line. It's Vider and Orangefield.
Okay.
I went to Orangefield High School. My friends in Orangefield would argue that they're different.
Okay.
Same.
Okay, you're right. I was about to say, tomato, but I hear you. I hear you.
It's the same.
Right, right.
So, but when I was growing up, they had this project that they did, and they put 10 black families in the projects of Vider, right? As an experiment. I don't know if it was a social experiment, government experiment. I don't remember all the details of it. All I remember is one of the houses got burned down and they shut the project down and they moved them all out.
Oh, wow.
One had a cross burning in their front yard. I mean, this is the 90s, right? This is the 80s, 90s that this is happening. And I mean, Vider has a very long Klan history. The Klan activity, the Klan was very active in Vider, like while I was growing up.
Right, absolutely.
I remember being in town, being in the backseat of one of my friend's cars, and we're at a red light, and then there are Klansmen on horses, and my friend's parents saying, "Y'all get in the back, y'all lay down, get down in the floorboard." Like, there were Klans people in 1990 riding around in front of the grocery store.
On horses in Vider, Texas. Your grandparents, your immediate family, like you said, you had an amazing family. The grace, the barriers, right? Like that they must have really like shown you and put up in the fights that they had to fight in that atmosphere at that time for you.
Yeah. And
you weren't aware of any of it.
No, I mean, part of it was I was told at a young age, if anybody asks you, you're not black.
Wow.
So that was just like what I knew. We would go to the beach, go down to Crystal Beach, Galveston Beach. My aunts then would layer me with so much sunscreen. Yeah. Like, don't let her get any darker. Like, listen, we are trying to fly under the radar here, people. So part of it was like an organized effort to keep me safe.
Absolutely.
And then the other part, like when I talk to my friends now, my family, I'm like, y'all, man, like tell me the truth about, growing up. And now that I'm on this side of it, and they all say the same thing. They all say, we didn't see color. We didn't see color, right? Like it just wasn't, you were just our cousin. I didn't see any of that. I didn't see you as black. I didn't see you as, and now on this side of it, where everybody's woke and all that, everybody's mad at that response, right? Because it's like, no, you need to see color. You need to see all that. Nobody was woke in the, we weren't woke in the 80s, right? People were literally doing whatever to survive, and I'm not making an excuse for it, right? There's a lot of things that could have been done differently, but at that time, I think people genuinely loved me and cared about me and wanted me to be safe and wanted me to, but then it's mutually exclusive from the fact that they didn't like black people.
Yeah, I was about to say, now, keep everybody else away. Lacey's one of us. We don't see color here, but...
No, we say the N-word. We don't like black people. We do, there's this whole... Wow. We've got tattoos. We got, like, serious Aryan Brotherhood type stuff, but loved me unconditionally. And it was like, okay, growing up, I didn't see that, right? Wow. Now, looking back, I'm like, how could, like, the duality of that and them being able to walk that line, I'm like, yikes.
Wow. Okay. That's a lot. Yeah. That is a lot to... How often do you go back to Vider now? Let me ask that before I move
on. Probably twice a year.
Twice a year. Okay.
But my grandmother, who raised me in Vider, now lives with us in Houston.
And where's your grandmother originally from?
Selma, Alabama.
Gets better. Yeah, she's so cultured.
My grandmother will turn 85 this year. And she's only lived two places. Selma, Alabama, and Vider, Texas. Right?
Wow.
So she has lived through it all. She has lived through all of the segregation, all the years of just like, deep oppression, and now lives with me in my black household with my black family, and has a completely different experience in life. and has been for the past 7 years.
And so she's been with you 7 years. Now, so I
Mhm.
was going to ask, how long has she been with you? That must be such a culture shock. You talking about turning your world upside down to the world she came into, grew up in, and then is currently in.
Oh man.
Woo.
When she first moved in, you know, I have a lot of friends. They in and out the house, they doing this, and my friends are loud, right? We like to have a good time. We
Right.
like to, I mean, she was just sitting there, big eyes, like, what is going, and they all love my grandma, right? They come over, hey, Nana, what's up? You want a drink? Like, you know, it's hilarious to watch her interact, you know. And at first, I was never worried about it, right?
Right.
At first, I was just like, hey, you know, like, tried to coach her up, make sure she didn't make any, like, do anything that was going to embarrass me or say anything. But you can't, right? There's things that have come out the last couple of years that have embarrassed me, that have pissed my husband off, that, you know, there's things that, but at the core of it, you know, is love.
Absolutely.
My baseline with her is love. So we go back there and we say, all right, that isn't appropriate. It doesn't feel good, you know, and she didn't mean it. And I make no excuses for her. You know, I say, look, you living in this house, you know, you talking about the football players don't need to kneel. Like, you're pissing me off, old lady. Like, this is, you know, so we've had some really hard conversations. We've had some really hard conversations.
Oh my God. Yeah. I have to empathize with her a little bit, from the world she grew up in to be living in a Black household. I know your husband's Black. Your baby goes to the money school. So I know that little brother is like pro-Black.
Yeah.
Super pro-Black. Oh my God. Okay, but it's based in love though, right?
Yeah.
Like the grace that you gotta show her because she raised you, right? Oh my God, that's phenomenal. So now we rolling out. We're out of high school. What are we doing after high school? And 1 second, no. At any point during this time, your dad dies at 6 through cancer, unfortunately. Your grandmother steps in. Your family shows you a lot of grace. You're in the house all summer because we don't want you to get dark. Does your mother reappear throughout this process?
I was told from a very early age that my mother was dead.
Okay.
So the narrative was, this is your dad. They were together. She had a wild life. She basically couldn't raise you, didn't want to, whatever the case. And my dad took me, and that she passed away. Right? So when my dad died when I was 6, I was an orphan in my mind. I was, okay, I have no parents. Both of my parents are dead. If you met me back then, hey, you know, who do you live with? I live with my grandparents. Both of my parents are dead. That was the story. That was the narrative that I had. I was junior year of high school.
Oh my God.
I am in the shower. It's Easter morning.
Okay.
My family's already left. They went to church before me. I'm running late. And there's a knock on the door, but I don't go answer it. And he goes to the neighbor's house. The neighbor's my cousin. Okay. So my mom's boyfriend comes from Houston. Very first time. They've never shown up on my doorstep.
Your mom that is alive.
My mom that is alive.
That you have been told your whole life is dead.
Yeah. And
her boyfriend is now at the door at 16.
Yes.
Just want to make sure I'm following it. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
He shows up. He goes next door, doesn't know this is my cousin's house, and he says, hey, do you know the neighbor? Does Lacey live there? And my cousin's like, yeah, what you want with Lacey? Like, this is a Black man on their doorstep. And this cousin's like, she was way out there. Like, so she's like, you know, you don't need to go over there. What do you need? So he panics, and he says, I'm her brother. And my cousin says, she doesn't have a brother. And he said, yeah, I'm her brother. So my cousin walks him over to my house. By this time, I'm ready for church. I'm coming out. And I see my cousin looking confused. And this Black man standing behind her. And I'm like, what's going on? She says, this is your brother. I'm like, oh, what? And he's looking like he's seen a ghost. I'm like, what is going on? So I said, what do you mean you're my brother? And he's got some people in the car with him. He was riding home from Louisiana, and he said that he had always wanted to come find me, and he had like nudged my mom, and my mom always said, leave her alone. Her life's better. Like, don't go messing with her. Like, we're not showing up. I gave her away, you know, like, let's wait until she gets older. And he just wouldn't listen. And this particular time, he's riding home from Louisiana, and he said, I'm stopping. They always have my address. It wasn't like, you know, my dad kept it or anything. So he stops. And so he's like, yeah. I said, so our mom is dead? He was like, what? No. Our mom is in, he's talking like he's my brother. Our mom.
Okay. My semi-developed brain is I'm overwhelmed. I can only imagine a junior in high school who, right? Mm-hmm. Okay.
No, mom's not dead. She's in Houston. And I'm like, man, this is like, but it didn't sit. I was like, this doesn't feel like it. You know, it's kind of like, I guess I was feeling that he wasn't being honest.
Right, right.
But I didn't know exactly. But now I'm just like confused. I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, man, what's going on? So he doesn't stay very long. And he leaves. And I don't end up going to church. My family comes home. They're like, you know, my grandparents like, what's going on? My cousin has to tell him like, hey, Lacey's brother just showed up today. She's got a brother. Her mom's alive. My grandparents like flip out. They're like, what? No, your mom's dead. Like, he's a liar. You know, this doesn't make, like, those are dangerous people. I don't know what they want. Like, you know, whatever. They just shut the whole thing down. Like, no, absolutely not. And I'm like, what is going on?
Oh my God.
My mom finds out. He comes home and he says, you know, I went and found Lacey. She's, you know, da-da-da. My mom is pissed. She is furious. She's like, I can't believe you did that. Why'd you da-da-da? So he gave her my cousin's phone number. My cousin gave him her phone number. My mom calls her and says, I need to apologize. That was not Lacey's brother. That's my boyfriend. I'm Lacey's mom. My cousin hangs up on her.
Yeah, because this is chaos, right?
Like, listen,
yeah, this is chaos. There's a lot going on, right?
Like, no, we're not interested, you know. And so my cousin hangs up, comes over, and she tells my grandparents. They come into my room because I'm laying down, like the whole day just like wipes me out. They come in my room. They're like, you know, don't worry about it. We don't know who those people were. That wasn't your brother. You know, like, just don't worry about it. The weird thing, Warren, is that like I literally packed that in a box somewhere and was like, boom, it didn't happen. I don't know who those people were. I don't know what's going on, and kept living my high school life. Like, I was like, it affected me, but I just like somehow put it in a box.
Oh my God.
And I kept going. Junior year, finished my junior year, did my senior year, super busy. Was like, okay, I'm gonna go to Sam Houston. Like, all right. I graduate, and at this point, we didn't hear from them at all.
Okay.
Didn't hear anything else from them. All of us pretended like it didn't happen. My family never talked about it.
So other than the phone call from your mom to your cousin apologizing, and your cousin kind of hangs up, everybody just moves on.
Everybody just moves on.
Oh my God. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So
now we're in college. You just compartmentalize it, which is amazing to be able to do that as a high schooler and move on with your life. That's so overwhelming. So then you graduate, now you're in college.
Mm-hmm. I show up first day at Sam Houston, right? I'm the first one there. I've got my room and we've got my little bathroom and my suite mates. I'm the first one. I'm like, all right, I set up all my decorations. I'm, you know, got my posters up. I got everything, right? All three, my roommate and my two suite mates are all from Missouri City.
Okay. Shout out to Mo City. Shout out to Mo City. Yes.
So I'm in the bathroom organizing my stuff. My roommate walks in, and she walks in with her parents, and she sees my posters and stuff on the wall, and she was like, oh shit, I got a white roommate. And I'm like, I'm in the bathroom. Like, is she talking about me? I come out. I'm like, hey, Guinevere, I'm Lacey. She was like, you're Lacey? And she's like, why you got all these Abercrombie posters on the wall? Like, literally, this is how we meet. And I was like, I look at the poster, I look at her, I'm like, you know, nice to meet you, whatever. Her parents are like side-eyeing me big time. Like, we don't know what's going on.
And we're a little confused.
Yeah.
Who is my baby going to be in this room with, right?
Man, that first year of college transformed my entire life. I'm still friends with everybody that I was friends with in that dorm because literally my life changed meeting them. Like, I'll never forget. We're sitting there, everybody, you know, in the dorm room, everybody's kind of hanging out. They're all in our room. And they were like, I will never forget, my friend looked at me and she said, "You do know you're Black, right?" And I was like, "Huh?" And she said, "You're Black. You know that, right?" And I was like, I'm not sure.
Oh my God.
And she was like, they're looking at each other like, what? They think they're being punked. They're like, what is going on? They're like, which one of your parents is Black? And I said, neither. And they're like, what is this? Like,
go get a mirror. Go get a mirror. She hasn't seen one. Go get a mirror.
So literally my suite mate says, look at your lips. Look at your hair. You are Black. And I was like, okay. So at this point, I'm just like embarrassed. I'm just like, man, like, okay, maybe I am, right? I've thought about it a lot. Like, maybe I am. And they're like, man, you need to, like, who was your mom? And I'm like, yeah, you know, my family told me she was Hawaiian. They're like, Hawaiian? What? And then what about your dad? I said, he was white. They're like, no way. There ain't no way white plus Hawaiian equals you. And who's Hawaiian anyway? Like, that don't even make any sense, right? They are clowning me so hard. After that night, everything turned to just love and grace. And they just like, man, I watched all the episodes of Martin with them. They introduced me to, like, I didn't know how to wrap my hair. I got my first relaxer. They put a box relaxer from Walmart when I'm kid just for me on my hair. Like my first year of college, Luther Vandross. I mean, anything.
Welcome to Blackness. Come on home.
Man.
Come on home.
So I had that first year experience.
Right.
After that, man, you couldn't tell me nothing. I went to the extreme, right? Now I'm Malcolm X. Now I am like, what? We got to fight the man.
Oh my God.
My friends are like, Lacey, you are the man.
First of all, Lacey,
like,
we didn't even know how you were going to fill out your race card about a year ago. What do you mean?
My friends were like, cool it. Like, you're doing way too much. Now, let me tell you this story. I'll never forget. In Huntsville, every Thursday night was like party night.
Okay.
So we go down to the fairgrounds. We'd always stop, get some cash at Walmart, whatever. So all of a sudden, the Walmart decides that now they're gonna make you buy something to get cash back because all these college students are coming in trying to, yeah, right. So we had been drinking, and I'm telling you, I'm in this phase, right? I joined NAACP. I'm like, man. So we go in there, and all of a sudden, we've been doing this for weeks, and this lady says, "Oh, you need to buy something." And I'm like, no, I just need cash back. Like I just did this last week. And she's like, no, you need to buy something. Y'all need to get out. Or I don't know how I took that and went with it. My friends do not let me live this night down. They were like, what? I said, what? You think I can't afford it because I'm Black? So the lady was like, no, I'm just telling you our new policy. And I was like, I can buy anything in here. I said, I will buy your life.
Oh, Lord.
No. So now something happens, I get like a little like riled up. My friends was like, man, I'll buy your life. I'm like, can we not? Can we stop? But that's just how like I would, you know what I mean? And I think like that happens with people.
No,
like,
absolutely.
You just find out about your roots. It's kind of, you know, I think it's a common thing that happens. It's embarrassing. But I think like it had to happen.
At this point, so you're a year into college, right? And you've just discovered you're Black.
Mm-hmm.
And you have this amazing set of friends that are introducing you to the culture, making sure that you got your ticket to the cookout.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Abercrombie and Finch posters still up? I'm curious.
No. The pictures have come down.
Okay.
I've had a few visits back to Viter at this point, you know, because I'm going home. And I've got so many questions.
I was about to say, how are these home trips going?
Oh, man. Now I'm going home, and I'm side-eyeing everybody, and it's a completely different experience, right? I'm going home, and I knew I had this new set of glasses as I'm driving through the town. The town looks different. The people feel different.
Wow.
Like how I feel at home no longer feels at home. And it was, I don't even know how else to explain it except, you know, it was like an outer body experience.
Wow.
And so I go back, you know, and I think my family had to be, you know, really gentle with me now embracing my Blackness. I had lots of questions, but I was a little bit on the defensive, right? Y'all didn't tell me this. Why didn't you this, right? And I'll never forget my cousin, who I'm like best friends with to this day. She got really like fed up of like me, you know, why you doing, why this, da, da, da. And I put something on Facebook. It was a meme. It was a, you know, give your kids a childhood they don't have to heal from, or something like that. And it wasn't a jab, right? But at this point, she's like, all right, enough is enough. Enough.
Enough.
She calls me and she says, you know, what did we do that was so wrong? And I was like, what do you mean? She said, I saw what you put on Facebook. And I was like, that wasn't about y'all. And she was like, no, it is about us. And she was like, and we need to talk about it. And I was like, damn.
Yeah, right.
You know, I was like, man. And she and I have had several conversations since then. That one was like just like a wild, you know, like argument. But in the last couple of years, we've had more conversations about it. And what I told her is, man, like my experience and like the way I talk about how I was brought up, the way I talk about how I felt has nothing to do with you.
Right, right.
You know, I said, it's not about trying to make you feel guilty. I just wrote a book a couple months ago. It had people hot, you know, but I told her, I said, look, like, this isn't like, you know, mutually exclusive. Like, man, it was a terrible life. It was da-da-da. I said, no, two things were true. It was hard to grow up Black and whiter, and I had an amazing family. Both of those things are true.
Right, right.
And she couldn't wrap her head around that. And I was like, you know what? Like, we don't have to get there together. But I know that they're both true.
Right.
You know? But it was hard, you know, to kind of see me go on that roller coaster as a family member. You're like, man, we did the best we could.
Oh, yeah. Like we tried to, you know how many times I got in fights for you, and now you coming here acting right.
Yes.
Calm it down, soldier sister.
That's it.
Right? No, and I can understand.
They were sick of me.
Yeah.
The Black community was sick of me. My family was sick of me. I was like, all right, like, what's going on?
And we're gonna get to the book in the app, but I feel like the journey to get there is just so important.
Yeah.
So with first year, you're discovering yourself. At what point do you really, or I guess do you get the confirmation? And I guess the only way to get the confirmation is from your mother that you're Black.
So sophomore year of college.
Okay.
I'm sitting at the gas station booth at HEB. I worked at HEB. They finally put me at the gas station. That's where I wanted to be. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. I can sit out here by myself. It was fun. And I had this English paper that I had to write about my family history. And it was kind of in the back of my mind. I'm like waiting to the last minute. But I'm sitting there, and this is Mother's Day. Wow. Sophomore year of college. I'm 18 years old. And I'm sitting there like, man, like, I need to find out more about my family. It's 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm hungover from the night before. I'm sitting there in the booth, and I'm sitting there thinking about my mom. And I'm like, man, you know what? I want to find out more about her. So I call at that time. You remember 411?
Yeah, I do.
Information,
old enough to
right?
remember.
Call, gave him a name. So I called 411, gave him her name because I had it off her birth certificate.
6 o'clock in the morning, Mother's Day, sophomore year in college.
Yes.
Wow.
Give them her name. And at this point, all of a sudden, like, nobody was there. It was ghost town. And then I'm on the phone with information, and like now people are pulling up for gas, coming up to the thing. So the lady's looking, I can hear her typing. I put the phone down, right? And so I'm like, okay, how much you need? I need 10 on pump, whatever. I'm sitting here doing this. And then when the customers leave, I pick the phone back up and I hear a voice, hello, hello. Like, you could tell that she just woke up. And I'm like, hello. I'm like, I know this information lady didn't just connect me to a random number. Like, and so I'm like, hi. She's like, who is this? I said, this is Lacey. And she says, Lacey? Like I could hear it in her voice that she knew who I was.
Right.
And I was like, yes. And she was like, my daughter, Lacey.
Wow.
And I was like, man, like I had never heard that before, right?
Wow.
I had never heard that before.
Wow.
And I was like, man, I was calling information to get more information about you, try to find a number, try to find something. Because at this point, I don't even have her boyfriend's phone number from back, like when the high school stuff went down. You just have her
name.
I just have her name. I don't have an address. I don't have anything.
Wow.
So she had a landline at that time. She's like, where are you? I said, I'm in Huntsville. I'm going to school at Sam Houston. I'm like, where are you? She said, I'm in Houston. I'm right off of I-10. It's Mother's Day. Come here today. I'm like drive there, come see you, like meet you for the first time, like meet my mom who I thought was dead for the first 18 years of my life. You want me to come meet you today? Wow. All right. All right.
I love it. Wow.
Yeah. So I get off work. I'm like, all right. At this point, I'm telling all my friends. I've got 2 roommates at this time. I'm like, y'all, I'm going to meet my mom. They're like, what? My roommate said, you want me to go with you? This sounds crazy. Like,
I like your roommates.
Yeah, man.
I like your roommates, by the way. I really like your roommates.
Oh, they are solid. So I'm like, no, y'all, I think I need to do this on my own.
Wow, that's so brave.
I said, I'm going to go by myself. I'm like, all right. And she lived right there in the Heights in Houston. I drove up from Huntsville for the first time, Mother's Day. Got out the car, pull up in her garage, all that. And there she is. And I'm like, this woman looks so much like me that even if I thought it was fake, even if I thought I got the wrong number,
right.
Even if I thought her boyfriend was full of shit, even if my family had lied, all the things of 18 years, none of that mattered because I'm looking at this woman and I know this is my mom. Wow. I'm like, this is my mom. Get out the car, and we both just hugged and crumbled and sobbed, and like there was nobody else in the world in that moment except a mom and a daughter reuniting.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. Since the hospital, right? Since the day you left me at the hospital, this is our first time meeting.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is 18 years later.
Mm-hmm. At this point, because we're like so engulfed in each other, I'm not seeing anything. I look up and there, oh boy.
My guy that kicked it off. I like it.
Charles.
Old Charles. All right. Old Charles.
And he is like got tears in his eyes. He's an emotional guy. And he's standing there just like a proud, like, man.
I knew it.
I knew this was going to happen. And, I hugged him. I'm like, yeah, I still had some feelings about him, but I'm like, all right. And we have this dinner, and my actual brother was there. So I have my mom did have another child.
Okay, so you have a real brother.
I have a real brother who's 2 years older than me. And he lives in Houston now. And he's there, and he has a girlfriend who's there. And we had this dinner. We all get super drunk. My mom was a drinker. My family was, all drinkers. Like, we're out there, like, crying, eating, drinking, just like, man, they're like wanting to know about life and Viter and all this stuff, right? So we're talking, we're da-da-da-da. And my mom keeps saying, your dad and Sonny. And at this point, I'm like, okay, why is she saying like who? I don't know who Sonny is, but I'm not questioning it yet.
Okay.
But she keeps saying, and I'm like, all right. And then at one point, she sees me like looking confused. I was like, okay, so Ronnie, and she was like, wait. She says, you do know that Ronnie wasn't your biological father, right?
Of course not. No, I just met you today. I don't know shit, right? Like, of course not.
She's like, she just starts bawling. She's like, wait. She's like, he was gay. She was like, I gave you up for adoption to him. What's your story? Like, what do you think happened?
Oh my God.
And I'm like, he was gay? Like, had no idea.
You had no idea he died when he was 6.
Not that mattered, but yeah. Wow. So I was like, And she is just blown away because she had no idea that I didn't know the full story. And I was like, so who is my real dad? Like, who's my biological father? She's like, oh, his name is Sonny. He was a truck driver. She's like, I met him out partying. He wanted me to go with him to California. I jumped in the passenger seat. She's like, on the way to California, I get pregnant. She said, we get to California. I go into a convenience store. I take a pregnancy test in the bathroom. I see that I'm pregnant. I don't tell him. and I leave California and come back to Houston.
Oh my God.
I'm like, so he doesn't even know about me? She's like, no. She said, I wasn't planning to keep you. Like, my goal was she called her sister in Baltimore, my Aunt Adrienne, who I'm very close to. She calls her and says, can you get me a plane ticket? I'm in California. I need to go home. Doesn't tell my Aunt Adrienne what's happening. She gets back to Houston. So the right thing to do is to go to the bar. Because, I don't know what to do. So I'm like, man, there's a lot going on.
Think this shit through, right?
She's trying to think it through. That's where she meets Ronnie, my dad, at the bar, where she's trying to sort all this out. Sonny doesn't know that he's got a kid on the way.
Oh my God.
So she's like, this is what's going on. I'm going to have an abortion. And he's like, and that's where we get to the story of him, them making that agreement. So my mom is just like, yeah, like, no, your dad is Sonny. And I'm like, okay, this is too much. She's like, okay, I think that's enough for the day. Like, let's shut it down.
Yeah, you was just calling information this morning. Like, I just called 411 this morning while I was taking gas money. Like, come on, this is a lot.
Yeah, but at this point, I'm so drunk. Like, she's like, you can't drive. I'm like, I'm about to stay the night at your house. Like, this is so... I'm like, I can call my roommate. She'll come get me. She's like, from Huntsville? Like,
yeah, no shit.
No, just like lay down somewhere, right? So, man, it was so wild. So I wake up the next morning. I leave, and I call my cousin at that time, who I was like closest with. We grew up together. I'm like, you won't believe this shit. He's like, what happened? I said, man, I just met my mom yesterday. He's like, what? And I said, yeah. And I said, you won't believe this. I said, she told me that Ronnie is not my dad. So Ronnie and my cousin, his mom were brother and sister.
Okay.
Right? So this is like my first cousin.
Gotcha.
So he was like, yeah. I'm like, what do you mean, yeah?
Oh, everybody knew. Joke's on you.
Yeah. He says, we were told not to tell you. I mean, bro, I am 18 years old.
Wow.
What do you mean? He's like, yeah, like we knew. I'm like, man, lost it. Call my best friend. Okay, I'm like, nah, it can't be. Maybe it was a tight family secret to call my best friend. I said, hey, did you know that my dad was not my dad? She's like, yeah.
Now, this is not the family. This is your best friend.
My best friend.
Everybody knew.
She said, my mom went to school with your dad. Like, he was gay. He didn't have a kid. Like, he adopted you. And I'm like, say more.
Yeah, now, shit. Now, now that we're talking about it, yeah.
What? And so, man, then, like, I went like dark after that. I went into a really bad spot, just partying, acting out, just whatever. I didn't care about it. I was like, man, my whole life is a lie.
Yeah, it's been a lie.
Everything that I knew to be true is not true. And so, man, like what that does to her, I didn't care about anything. I was just like, I was tripping for real for probably about a year.
I can imagine.
And just had to pull myself out of it. My friends were just like, man, you can't do this. Like, you're going to fail out of school. You're going to you got to get your life together. Like, it's not that bad. Like, you know the truth now. Like, just move forward. At this point, I'm building a relationship with my mom.
Okay. This
next year. So I'm coming to Houston every Friday. She and I are getting wasted, drunk, like, and we're having a good time. And every night, one margarita turns into 4 and we end the night crying and she's got all this guilt and I have all this resentment. And we just do that for a year. And at some point we were like, man, like we've got to get to know each other. Like we can't just keep spinning this story of, sadness and regret and all this. Like, who are you? Like, let's get to know each other. So we spent a few years after that just trying, but it was rough. It was a lot of alcohol, drug, whatever. Like, it was rough. It wasn't authentic. I'm still in college. Like, got through it. I had the truth. Now everybody knew I knew the truth. I had fell off with my family, but mended that. Fell off with some friends, but mended. At some point I was just like, man, like how I can't stay mad at everybody.
Yeah, you gotta. Your ability and tolerance for forgiveness is almost forced to be way higher than everybody else because everybody you love you had to forgive for.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was like, yeah, they held this secret, but they weren't being malicious.
Right.
Right. And when I realized that, when I realized it wasn't them trying to like do something to me, which at first I felt like that. So that's why I was so pissed at everybody. I was like, no, everybody, like nobody knew whose right it was to tell me. My dad had died. They're like, man, like who's supposed to tell her? And nobody wanted to hold that responsibility. Right. And so at the end of the day, I just had to like, it took some time, but I had to say like, no, it happened how it happened, you know?
That is amazing. So you and your mom are beyond the first year and now you're on a curiosity journey.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we get to the next stage?
So then we're at graduation at this point.
Okay.
So I'm graduating from Sam Houston, trying to figure out what I want to do, what I'm going to do. And mom's like, come live with me in Houston. Come move in. At that point, we were still kind of like on the rocks, like, you know, any little thing, we're fighting, we're whatever. And I was like, I don't know about that, you know. Graduation comes, we get in a big fight that night. But I'm planning to move in with her the next week. I'm like, got all my stuff packed. I'm like, man. And we get in this huge fight. And it was crazy because at that time I had a boyfriend in college whose mom I was very close to.
Okay. She
had been a part of my experience. She had kind of like walked this whole situation out with me. And so that night at my graduation party, when I'm thanking people, apparently my speech to the mom was more endearing than hers. And she just like took it real personal. Like my family from Viter was there. That's the first time that they had met my mom was at my graduation in college.
Oh, wow.
So everyone from Viter came up. My mom comes, her boyfriend, her friends from Houston come, and all my friends are there. So it's super awkward, right? This is like to celebrate me graduating college, but this is a family reunion. This is so there's a lot going on.
This is supposed to be a celebration and a beautiful experience, but you have so many dynamics playing at one time.
It was so awkward. It was so awkward. Even though like at this point the dust has settled,
right.
It's been years, everybody's kind of in their place and in their lanes. Now we're all together and there are no lanes. This is all like we're all Lacey's people and we're here. And then what's the rank order? Right? So I'm doing my speech and I'm thanking everybody. And man, I've only known you for a couple of years, so it's not that deep, right? You're my mom, but like you're not gonna get like you didn't pay for my school. My grandparents paid for college. You didn't buy my car. I'm driving around in the car they bought. You didn't like. And the other thing was like she paid for the party and the food and all that. So she's like, look what I did. And I was like, bro, like you
missed like 22 of these joints.
Yeah.
like you missed like 22 of these joints. Come on, let's not pat yourself on the back. You missed by 22 of these joints.
So her feelings were really hurt. And that night it was an explosive, everything came to a head. Wow. And it was like, all right. So I was like, so I'm not moving in with you. Now I got to figure out what my plan is. That night I go and I Google like what's the best way out of the country for a new grad, right? I've had lots to drink. I barely even remember this. Middle of the night, I'm Googling and it says, Seoul, South Korea, come teach English. So I'm like, all right, I filled the form out. I'm like, all right, I'll fill it out. I wake up the next morning. I'm like, it's kind of a blur. I know mom and I just had a blowout. I just graduated. I don't know what's going to happen. And I have this email that's like, with a confirmation of an interview, a Skype. At that time, it was a Skype interview set up. And I'm like, what is this? Korea. It was like this weird number. I'm kind of like, it's still kind of blurry.
Right.
But I'm like, okay. So the next day I get on this interview. I get on the call. I'm like, all right, let me just hear him out. And he's like, okay, ask a few questions. Like, okay, you got the job. I'm like, what? He says, you got the job. Can you come next month if I get you a visa? I'm like, to Seoul, South Korea? Yes, at a private English academy. I'm like, you know what? Yes, sign me up. I hadn't talked to anybody at this point. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to Korea. So again, I'm talking to my roommate. Tell my roommate, they're like, what the hell is going on? I said, I'm moving to Korea. They're like, no, like this is an impulse decision. You and your mom got in a fight, but it's gonna be fine. Like that. I'm like, no. They processed that visa so fast. Before I knew it, I was on a flight to Korea with 2 suitcases. Just graduated, Sam. I was just like, all right. Flew to South Korea, got to this new country, didn't know anybody. I mean, Korea is foreign as shit. It is about as foreign as you can get.
Do you even speak Korean?
No. The driver comes to pick me up. He doesn't speak English. I don't speak Korean. He's got a sign with my name on it, and he's like, yeah, come on. It's the weekend. Nothing's open. The school that I'm supposed to work at doesn't open until Monday. I have no Korean currency because, like, I don't know.
You don't know you just graduated from college.
At that point, I had only been to Mexico. I've been to Cancun. Like, I hadn't been anywhere else.
Oh my God.
So I go out there because I'm running, right? If you meet people in Korea, they'll say, okay, you know, what's your story? Are you a runner? And I realized I was a runner.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's the group that I fit into. You're either a military or you're a runner. You're a teacher runner, right? And so I spent a year out there, got my life together, just, you know, figuring out what's what. And at that point, I'm just like Skyping with my family, right?
Okay.
They're like, okay, everybody's super worried about me. Like, you just hauled ass after college. Like, everybody like, what's going on with you? I'm like, man, I'm having a great time. It was the best time of my life.
This is 2 weeks after you graduated. You're on a flight to Korea.
This is 2 months because I had
2
to have
months.
yeah.
Okay, 2 months.
So I extended my lease because I'm not moving to my mom. I'm pissed at her.
Yeah, right. She pissed you off, right?
Yeah. And I go spend a year out there. It was amazing. Oh my gosh, that opened up a new world for me. I'd only been to Mexico. Now I've been to 30 countries. Like, after that, I was like, oh, it's on. Like, I'm about to travel the world. Like, this is amazing. And so I leave Korea, and I'm trying to figure out what my next move is going to be. And I do move in with my mom.
Okay.
For the first time. I'm like, okay, we had like fixed our relationship because it's, you know, long distance for a year. You can fix a whole bunch of stuff just talking.
Right.
Right. So I move in with her, and it was rough. It was rough. It was rough. I was like,
party's
man.
over.
Yeah, I mean, there's too much estrogen in the house. She's not used to all that. She's just like,
party's over.
Oh my gosh, it was just too much. Like, we were just bumping heads. I was like, I gotta get out here. So I moved to Kansas City, took a job out there. I was out there for a couple months. I go to lunch with one of the executives. Say, well, what do you want to do here? I was like, you got any international roles? He's like, oh, we did just sign a contract in the Middle East. I was like, sign me up.
Oh my God, you're running. Yeah, you're in marathon.
I am a runner.
Yeah, you got your shoes on. You're running your ass off. Wow.
I was like, yeah, I'll do that. He was like, well, you typically have to be here for a year. I was like, okay. So I said, I'll wait it out. He emails me the next week. He's like, were you serious about that? I said, yeah. He said, I'll make an exception. You can be on the team.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's no long list to go to the Middle East and work.
At that point, nobody really understood what Qatar was, right?
Okay.
Doha was like, we knew that GDP, like, they were like rich as shit. You know, everybody knew about Dubai, but Doha was still like, we don't really know. Is it safe? Is it whatever? I was like, I don't care. Look, man, like, come on, let's go. Same thing.
For the adventure?
Yeah, I get me a work visa. It works out. My family's like, where are you going now? I'm like, I'm going to the Middle East. So I got there for 3 years. Amazing. Best time of my life. I'm out there adventuring, exploring, doing all this. Second year I'm out there, everything fell apart. All right, so I'm living, and it's so luxurious out there. I'm living at the Marriott downtown Doha. More money than I've ever seen before, in a place that I don't know that I'll ever be able to afford this type of place ever again.
Right.
I mean, it is just like sick money. I've got a driver who picks me up every morning. I mean, it is like next level. You can't even like fathom it, right? Second year, man, everybody dies. I have 6 people like really close to me that die.
Okay.
That's why I have this tattoo. These 6 hearts
6
with this,
hearts.
with this angel wings. I had 5 flights that year from Doha. That's a 14-hour flight.
Jeez.
5 flights back. I missed 1 funeral. And my grandpa dies. My cousin, who's my age, who like the closest person to me, he dies. I had an aunt die. My best friend from growing up dies. Like another best friend, her mom dies. I mean, it is awful. When I'm coming down here to a funeral for my best friend, my mom tells me, hey, I need you to go to an appointment with me. And I'm like, okay, what's going on? You know, because I got a flight back tomorrow. I got to go back to Doha. She's like, it's an oncology appointment. Now, I'm here for my best friend's mom's funeral who just died of cancer, stage 4.
Right.
Now I got to go to an oncology appointment. I'm like, okay, I'll change my flight. Like, let's go. You're not going by yourself. She's like, no, everything's too heavy for you right now. Like, don't worry about it. I'm like, no, I'm going. Go to that oncology appointment. And they're like, oh, yeah, stage 4. Like, I'm talking about that PET scan lit up. Like, the cancer was like, I'm here. Wow. And she says, okay, so what's the plan? He said, even with treatment, you got about 9 months to live.
Oh, my God.
Everything changed. Like, I was already deeply grieving. I was like in serious mourning. At this point, like 4 people have already died. Like, man, I mean, I was in a really dark place. And now my mom's about to die. Like, oh, man. So she's like, you know, don't worry about it. Go back to Doha. I'm like, I mean, go back to Doha. Like, she's like, I was up for a promotion at that time. And my mom was like a serious businesswoman. I didn't tell you that when I reconnected with her, my mom was a boss.
Oh, really?
She was out here in Houston. Like, she had moved, had her Alexis, had her this condo in the Heights.
Hey, I knew you said the Heights, so I knew she was doing fairly well if she was in the Heights.
She's VP of this ad agency. I mean, doing her thing. She was brilliant, super bright woman. Like, so in her mind, she's thinking about my career.
Right.
She's like, you can't stay here. Like, you're not about to do the chemo train with me. Like, go back to the Middle East, get that job. I'm like, man, fuck that job. Like, you know, what are you talking about? Like, my mom is dying.
Right,
you are about to die. This is it. And if anybody's going to walk you to the edge of the river, it's going to be me. Like, I'm coming home. I'm doing this. Man, I had to fight her on that. I was like, look, call my boss. I was like, hey, this is the situation. Either like y'all let me go or I can figure out how to keep my job there. And then, you know, whatever. They worked with me.
Wow. For
9 months. It was 9 months to the day from that appointment that my mom died. That 9 months, Warren, oh my God. It was the most painful and beautiful like season of my life because there's something different that happens when somebody's about to die. Like nothing really matters, right? Like all the bullshit, all the stuff is like, man, like we can fight, but like we've got a timer ticking in the background the whole time.
Right.
So either we're going to fix this, you know, or either way I'm dying in a few months. That's how it was. I mean,
we got time to be mad at each other for 3 months.
We don't have time for this, man. Wow. We don't have time for this. And we would fight, right? My mom was not a good patient. She was stubborn.
She was not a good patient.
Man. Oh, she was just stubborn. She was like, it was hard caregiving for her. And I would do it again in a heartbeat, you know? But there's something that happens. I mean, like she lost all her hair. My mom had beautiful hair down her back. So she's Samoan, by the way. Right. She wasn't Hawaiian. My mom really was Samoan.
Okay.
So she got that long Samoan hair, beautiful. It falls out. She's devastated. I was like, all right, I shaved my head.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Now we both walking around here bald. Like,
wow.
Yeah. It was heartbreaking and wonderful.
It's throughout this process you all start therapy and really get to know each other, correct?
We didn't do therapy.
You didn't do therapy?
We didn't do therapy.
Okay.
We didn't do therapy. We ourselves started this super intentional journey.
Okay.
If there's something you want to know about me, ask it now. If there's something we want to do together, let's do it. She was sick, so it wasn't like we was flying to the Maldives or anything.
Right.
Like nothing crazy like that. Like we were doing things, you know, going on picnics, going on walks in Memorial Park. Let's take a road trip. Let's do this. Like we leaned all the way into that relationship. Like, man, we wanted to write our own ending, and we didn't do it with therapy. We did it with lots of questions, lots of honesty, like radical candor to say, man, like I can't hide or run from it. Like if you want to know who I am and you want to like end our story on a good note, we've got to like come together. And that's what we did. And it was, oh my gosh. She passed, and I thought, man, why did it take a terminal illness for us to just take all the bullshit off the table, for us just to like forgive each other and to truly get on the other side of it?
Right.
And that thought kept coming up. I'm like, man, like if that would have been, if we would have had that relationship the whole time, like, you know what I mean? I'm like, that's the relationship that I want. That's what I want other mothers and daughters to have. Like, it can be a powerful bond. A mother and a daughter, man.
Right.
It's so deep. It is so, you can't get away from it. My mother has been gone for like 8 years now. I'm still in a relationship with her. Wow. My relationship with her shows up in everything, with my daughter, my husband, and my marriage, my work. My relationship with my mom shows up in every single thing that I do. And so, man, like, why wouldn't you try to get that right? Like, if you still have the opportunity, it doesn't, you know, and some, I'm not going to say like it's easy, right?
Right.
I'm not even going to pretend. The shit was hard, you know, like coming, fixing stuff with my mom, forgiving her, having that. Like, I meet people today, like, that say, man, no, I don't fool with my mom like that. You know, people that have like some deep trauma, some deep things with their mom that they are like, I'll never forgive her, you know. So I'm not speaking from a place of like, it's really easy to have this beautiful relationship with your mom. It took stage 4 cancer.
Right.
Like, you know, it's hard, but you can do it. And you don't have to wait until the end. And that's what I mean, that's my whole mission right now. I'm like, man, don't wait till the end. Do not wait until it's too late. Don't wait until you're in the oncology office to say, man, I want, like, if you want your mom, if you want to be close to your mom, you got to do the work right now to say we are changing the legacy of female relationships in our family, and it starts with us.
Is that the mission for you right now?
That's the mission. I'm transforming mother-daughter relationships one pair at a time. Wow. Yeah. Because I know what it can be.
Right.
I mean, it will change a woman's life. It'll change her life. My daughter's life will be better because I fixed it with my mom. My grandkid, everything is better because before my mom died, we fixed it. I'm a better wife. I'm a better everything because I had a good relationship with my mom before she died.
Can you give me probably just one example of each of those scenarios, how it made you better by fixing your relationship with your mom? Like, how does that make you show up better for your daughter? How does that make you a better wife? How does that make you a better person?
Yeah.
By fixing that?
Yeah. So as far as being a mom, I feel like I am killing it. I am not even going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to act like, man, I put everything into it. I've got 2 kids that live in the house with us. I've got 1 bonus son. I am a hell of a stepmom. Bonus mom, I'm crushing it.
Right.
And I think it's because, man, like when I had my kids in my stomach, I thought about, like, I cried a lot for my mom. I cried a lot. I thought, man, how do you carry somebody for 9 months and just give them away?
Right.
Like, I was in the hospital bed giving birth to my daughter, and I was thinking about my mom, crying about my mom. I wasn't crying. It hurt. But I'm sitting here crying because I'm like, how did she just, like, have me and give me away? So I think my thoughts of, like, how hard that was for her and that sacrifice that she made on that end shows up for me, that I get the honor of having my children every single day.
Right.
My mom grieved me, which I didn't know until she was sick and we actually talked about it. She grieved me for years. It never stopped. She, you know, what if? I don't have to think what if. Right. I'm with my kids every single day and I go hard in the most beautiful way. So that relationship, you know, what didn't happen with my mom, her revelations, her reflections, what she told me, what she wished she would have done, all that, I'm doing that because I'm like, man, I'm going to play this out for both of us.
Right.
With my husband, man, I also think I'm killing the wife game. I will also say that I think that I'm crushing it.
That's awesome.
Know? But I think it's because my mom, shit, that boyfriend that I told you about, my mom never got married. My mom lived a very fast life. She liked to party. She She liked to move around. She liked to, and marriage was never on the table for her.
Wow.
She wasn't interested in it. No, I'm not interested. One person? She had a boyfriend and they were, for years living, she loved him, but my mom was not interested in marriage. My mom had this thought that like, you belong to the universe. You don't belong to a person. They can't possess you. Like, she said, I like to be with multiple men. They can come and go as they please, and everyone has the freedom to do what they want.
Wow.
And I was like, that's awful. I was like, that sounds lonely and scary as shit. And watching her, she was on all the apps. I met more men. Oh my God. My mom was like out there.
Wow.
In these Houston streets. And I was like, I'm not interested.
Sign me up.
I
Never.
am not interested. And so I've always wanted to get married. I've always wanted to get married. I always wanted to have a bunch of kids. I wanted to have this beautiful life. And so I think seeing what I didn't want, like, man.
Right.
Like, no, I'm going to go this way. And there's things like just caregiving for her in the end, the grace that I had to show my mom. Like the way I honored my mom wasn't about she and I. It was about me and God. I honored my mom because in the final analysis, like Mother Teresa says, when it all comes down to it, it's never between you and them. It's between you and God. That's the kind of wife I am. That's how it shows up. That's the kind of mom I am. Is the way I honored my mom, that's how I do. I honor my kids. I honor my husband. I honor my job. The work that I do, I'm very passionate and dedicated to it. Everything I do is with honor. That's like my word. I do it with honor.
I think we have to get into how you're living your mission and what that has turned into with your book now, as well as your app.
The app came first.
Okay.
I created this super raw version, like printed on my laptop version of this activity book.
Okay.
This was 2016. I was like, man, if I was struggling with my relationship, I know there's others and mothers and daughters who had, and I was still like, it was part of my grief process. I'm like, how can I help other mothers and daughters? How can I do it? So I put together this 1-year activity book for moms and daughters, and every month they'd have to do an activity together, and they'd have to ask each other these questions because I was still in this desperation mode of, man, people got to fix it. They got to fix it. They got to fix it. Printed it out, put it on my Facebook. I was like, I'm selling these activity books, moms and daughters, Like within the first few days, I sold 100 copies.
Jeez.
And I was like, wait a second.
Jeez.
Like there's a market for this, right? People want to be closer with their mother or daughter. So I sat on that for a little bit. I did a couple of workshops, like myself, right? I'm paying for them. I'm not making any money off of this. I've got a job. I'm working at a psych hospital. I'm doing this on the side, but I'm super passionate about it, right? I'm like, man, this is my work in the world is mother-daughter help. But I don't know how that's going to work out. We've got a big mortgage and a lot of kids. I don't think I'm going to be able to make any money doing this.
Right.
Because like the little activity books were like $20.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right. So pandemic hits. We're at home. Everybody's locked in. I'm sitting here. Now I got 2 babies and a bonus baby, and I'm working this full, really stressful corporate job. I'm like, man, I'm at the edge. I'm like, this is too much. I got to go to therapy. I need therapy. I tell my husband, I'm like, man, I got too much going on. I need to go to therapy. So the whole first year of the pandemic, I do virtual therapy with this amazing therapist, right? And when I first signed up with her, I was like, man, her prices are crazy. Because she was like one of the best in Houston. I was like, man. She said, what's your goal? I said, I can afford about 10 sessions with you. Like, if you can fix me in 10 sessions, we'll be good. She's kind of laughing. I'm like, no, I'm serious.
Yeah, I know. That's all I budgeted for this year.
And she's like, what's your goal? I said, what's coming up for me right now is I have my own kids and I'm really struggling that I didn't grieve my mom in a healthy way. And that's got to go somewhere. I got to process that. So I did therapy with her, went through this journey of talking about my mom, talking about growing up in Biter, talking about sacrifice, talking about all these things. And it was a game changer. I never met my therapist in person. It was all virtual.
Wow.
And at this point, I told you, I'm at a psych hospital. I'm director of IT at the Menninger Clinic here in town. It's one of the top 10 psychiatric hospitals in the country. And I'm watching this 94-year-old hospital who has never seen a virtual patient. They've always had a patient on the couch or in the bed.
Okay.
Right? So my team is now responsible for the world just shut down. Nobody can come in, but revenue's got to keep going. So what are y'all going to do? My team has to stand up Microsoft Teams and like virtual visits in like 5 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Right. For a hospital. I mean, you got clinicians who've been doing this for 50 years. You want me to hold an iPad and talk
Yeah,
about
yeah. I
patients?
got to click into what? Like what? Right?
I mean, you know, now it's like second, like I'm saying this now and people are like there's a QR
pre-COVID
code.
days.
Yeah.
Think pre-Zoom, think pre-Teams when you didn't even know what Teams or Zoom was.
Yeah. And we got to take this whole hospital up on this. And we did it. We got through that first year, and my team supported thousands of video visits.
Wow.
Of people who never would have done this before. And the hospital is a big research hospital. And so they're looking at the outcomes of people that did virtual versus in person. There was no difference, right? We're thinking, oh man, there's no way that video therapy is as effective as in-person therapy. It was. And we were proving it and we were showing it. We were seeing the data. And I was like, all right. So I'm sitting here like, okay, if this is working and I had that activity book, what if I created an app that allowed video therapy for moms and daughters? So if mom and I were in a different place, like when I was in Kansas City and we were struggling, when I was in Korea and we were struggling, like how can I break the barriers down? Whether it's, you know, where you live, whatever, you can get on your phone and talk to a therapist. You and your mom work through issues and really bring your relationship together. So then I start talking to every therapist I know at the hospital. I'm like, I got this idea. They're like, you're crazy. You're crazy, right? At this point, I had just gotten promoted. I'm making all this money. I've got 3 kids. I've got a grandma at home. I've got all this stuff. They're like, you can't leave and create an app. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, like at this point, it's pandemic. People are not thinking about leaving their job. Well, then, you know, the great resignation came. But before that,
right.
You know, everybody was like, stick tight, stay tight.
Yeah, we want to keep these, because these bills are rolling. So we got to stay at work. That was the mindset at that time.
Yeah. But I knew it was going to work. I was like, I know I can do this. I've talked to enough people. I know how effective it is. Like, I know I can do this. And so I talked to my husband and I'm like, okay, can I leave my job and create this app? He said, how long do you think it's going to take you to get it off the ground? I said, give me 2 years. He said, what does that look like? I said, so at that point, I'm bringing like $10,000 a month home, right? Like after taxes. This is like coming into our Chase account. And he was like, so that's going to stop?
Yeah, right. Like, hold on, wait, why are you doing the app? No money's coming in?
Like, so no money's going to come in at all. I was like, yeah, not for a while. But my husband had already done his own business before. So he was like, so I kept saying, at first I was saying, oh, it'd be a couple months. He was like, bro, double that, triple that.
Yeah, absolutely. He knows better.
So he was like, if you really want to do this, let's go. Let's do it. I'm thinking about this.
What's your husband's name?
Lacey Tezino.
Darrence?
Yeah.
Shout out to Darrence.
Yeah.
Shout out to Darrence. Brother, I don't know if my wife is bringing in $10,000 a month after taxes, going directly into the Chase account. I don't know. I'm going to be a little candid here because we've been having candid come. I don't know if I give a fuck about our dreams. I think I need that money coming in. I'm like, we got to reassess. We going to leave that for 2 years? Man, salute, brother. Salute. I just had to give, I gotta give flowers when flowers are due.
Yeah.
He's killing it at marriage too. Yeah. Y'all got a hell of a team at home. He is killing it at marriage too. Jeez. Okay, I'm sorry. I just had to. Wow.
I mean, and it is like when I talk about it, I'm like, y'all, this was no little thing. Like we said, okay, like we got 2 kids out of Monty. We got all this stuff going on. Like, something's going to have to go. I was like, okay, if you're going to tell me my kids got to leave at Monty, I'll stay at the hospital. Like, I'm not going to do, no. And we're like, we could rebudget. Let's figure this out. Woo. And we could do it, right? So we're like, all right, that first year comes. It was hard. But we still rolling. Everybody's still, kids still out. I'm like, okay, everything's, no lifestyle change. We're still doing our thing. We're traveling. We're living like I'm still making $10,000 a month. And at this time, I'm having to pay therapists. I'm having to pay a team to build the app. Money's just going out and nothing is
Building the
coming
company.
in.
You're building a company, right?
Money is just flying out the door. First year comes, and then it was like, so we look at each other. I'm like, we don't have any more money. And I'm so close, baby. The app is almost built. Like, come on, like, stay with me. Don't. He said, all right, what you want to do? I'm like, okay. We had a house in Humble that we were renting. I'm like, all right, we bought it for $250,000. Call our realtor, like, how much you think we could get it for? She's like, $450 right now. I look at him. I'm like, I do not want to ask you this, because that was like our bait, man. We were like, man, this house, we got it on a short sale. Like, this is like our cash cow. Like, we're good. He's like, you want to sell it? Like, we're going to sell it? I'm like, I really need it for the business. I really need some cash. And I'm like, the next day, he's like, list it.
Wow.
I'm like, so people talk about, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to be an entrepreneur. Like, until you will sell everything.
Absolutely.
Like.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah.
They don't understand that part though.
Man.
They don't. I'm happy that you're telling this part of the story, because it gets dark.
So we keep going back to this 10,000 number, because I want it to be just like super real. Like, that was gone. Now we've got one salary coming in. I'm paying people in India. I'm paying all these things to happen, paying the school, paying for all this. We're looking at the bank account. I'm like, how do we have $5? Warren, we got to $5 after the first year.
Shit.
And we just looked at each other like, it was scary, right? It's like, man, everybody's paid. We've got this amazing product. Like, man, we're really going to be able to but are we going to be able to cut? Like, what are we going to do? Right. If we didn't sell that house, like, the business was going to shut down in year one. It happens all the time, right?
All the time. All the time.
So it was like, we could shut it down, pack it up, sell the app. Like, let's be done with it. Or we're going to keep this thing going. Yeah.
Send you easily, because you can easily tap out at any time and go back to corporate America and get back home.
You know how many times I got on LinkedIn and was like, let me just see what hospitals are. Let me just see what's going on in corporate world. So many times.
What keeps you going?
My kids. Like, when I look at my daughter will say our mother-daughter app.
Wow. The end.
That's it.
The end.
They know, like, all three of my kids are very clear. Like, our 12-year-old's hilarious. He's like, man, when you get rich, you're going to buy me this. Like, his dreams, because all three of them believe in the app. All three of them. They believe in me. They believe in the app. They're like, man, okay, can we get a 3-story house now? They have all these dreams for this money because they know it's going to work out. My husband knows that right now he's holding it down, and I will retire him early because it will work out. Like, that's just how our family operates now. Like, everybody's moving in agreement with mom's business working out.
What's the name of the app? Can anybody join right now? If I want to get closer to my mom and I know I need your app and now I'm aware of it, how do I sign up? How do I get on the list? How do I get the information about it? What do I do?
The app is on both app stores. It's live today. It's only for mothers and daughters. The daughter has to be at least 14 years old. You could download it today, fill out the intake questionnaire, and within 48 hours, I'll have you matched with a licensed therapist, and you'll begin your therapy journey. It's that easy. You go to the app store, download Passport Journeys. You've got to have 2 willing participants. So if mom and daughter want to do this, both of them have to say, I'm going to show up, because it's 2 video sessions a month. You're going to be doing therapy. One person can't be showing up and the other person isn't. So you've got to be willing. You've got to be at least 14. One of you have to live in Texas. The other one can live anywhere. But all my therapists right now are licensed in Texas. So you've got to one of you has to live in Texas. And that's it.
And is it 10 sessions?
No. Like
you need it? It's just gets the process started and whatever you guys need.
And then the therapist will create a treatment plan for you.
That is amazing.
How long? Based on that first month, we do an intake month. The therapist gets to know you, man. Is the app a good fit? Do y'all need something more?
Right.
Because we're the only app doing this intake process. The other apps, you start, it's individual therapy. You can start today. We do 4 sessions of you getting to know your therapist. Do you like your therapist? The therapist does 1 session with mom by herself, 1 session with daughter by herself. Hey, what's really going on? And then they have a treatment planning meeting that says, okay, I think you guys are a good fit. You're both committed to a better relationship. Let's do this. And then you start a monthly subscription. It's a subscription model.
I would love to see if my wife and her mom would like to do the app. Well, you know my mother.
I know,
yeah,
Miss Jones.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. Because in the Black community, I mean, the candor that you and your mom were able to have, most of us don't have that because the elders don't come from a generation that talks. Like, we're talkers. We're all about our feelings. And our kids are on steroids with that shit. Yes. Right?
Yes.
But they have a tendency to shut down. So I could imagine, the walls that can be broke down and the healing that can happen from your app.
Yeah.
Before we get out of here, let's touch on the book.
Yeah. So, told you guys I went to therapy. I've been trying to write a book for 10 years. At first, I wrote a full book, 300 pages, and it was super race related. It was a lot about race, right? I grew up in Biter. Of course, that's like top of mind, right?
You're an expert.
And I sent it to the first editor, and she knew me from Sam. She sends me some feedback, and then she says, okay, like, is your goal with the book? Are you trying to drive the race thing home? And I said, no. She said, okay, that's what you're doing with this book. And she said, what's your main message? And at that point, mom had just passed away. It was all I said, it's really about me meeting my mom, and I kept saying, mom. And she was like, that's not coming out in the book. What's coming out in the book is Viter. And I was like, I don't want it to be heavy on the Viter.
Right.
That is definitely a piece, right? It's a huge part of my story, but I want it to be about love, reconciliation. I want it to be like a reckoning that happens with a mom and a daughter. So then I had to rewrite it. I was like, okay, I just wrote 300 pages, got an editor. So I rewrote the story. And it was from the angle of, I had 10 therapy sessions. So the book is 10 chapters. And each one it opens, I'm in therapy. And it opens with Elise, my therapist, asking me a question. And then I start reflecting in the session. This is what happened. This is where I'm from. First chapter is about the agreement, talks about the adoption. Second goes into Viter and what it was to be in Viter, and then being an orphan, and then growing up, and then meeting my mom, and what was it like to meet her, and then what was it like to all the way to her death. The last chapter is me birthing Ziggy.
Wow.
Full circle. It goes from my adoption to me birthing my own daughter. The last chapter is I want to change the legacy of female relationships in my family, and it starts with Ziggy and I. It started with mom and I, but right now what I have control over. And so it's such a beautiful, easy read. All the reviews I'm getting, people are reading it in one sitting, right? They can't put it down. It takes them a couple of hours. They're sitting there like, read it in one day. And the healing that's happening with people that haven't lost their moms, people that are just like, man, and it's therapy after mom died. So I'm attracting a lot of people who have already lost their mom. But the ones who haven't, it's like, get your shit together.
Right.
We don't last always.
Right.
Like, come on, this is my experience. It is so beautiful.
Your whole story is just beautiful. The grace that you were shown.
Yeah.
And then that you had to show. Right? Like, because the anger, everybody can feel that, right? You feel attacked. You feel like y'all played me, right? But then to have to encounter that at such a young age.
Yeah.
Too. And forgive people. I think your story is amazing, Lacey. I really want to get, I'm saying my wife and my mother-in-law, but I think my mom and my sister need it too. I'm a bit jealous. You ain't got nothing for a brother. I'm a bit jealous. I'm not gonna lie. We got mother and son issues too. whenever when you get rich and sell out one, you can always sell the sister app.
So when I first started, I did it with my with the activity book. I did it with my mother-in-law.
Okay.
And we were going, lunch in the park. We're asking questions, getting to know each other on a deeper level. And I think that's a beautiful situation. It's anyone who identifies as a mother and a daughter, right? You might do it with your grandma because she raised you. You might do it with your auntie because she was a mom to you. Like it's intentional bonding, healing, and growth for mother-daughter pairs, however you identify, if you identify as that.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah.
I think that's important too, because there are a lot of people who their aunt possibly raised them and may feel excluded. That is that's amazing. I want to say for my mom and sister too, but I'm not paying for that shit. That's why I keep tiptoeing around it. Because one of them was trying to hold me accountable.
Yeah,
like, you did say it. Come on now.
Need to do this.
Yeah, we signed up on Lacey's app. We just need your credit card information and we got it.
Yeah.
So no. Oh man. Lacey, you have blown me away today. The story again, the grace is so beautiful. The mission. That's before we get to the entrepreneurship aspect of it, right? The grit of still building something, the sacrifice of following your gut and the discipline to stay down, because you, unlike a lot of entrepreneurs, can't just go back and make a shitload of money.
Yeah.
Right? Like a lot of people don't have, like, for me, when I started off entrepreneurship, I knew, like, if I don't get my own shit going, it's a ceiling, right? A very low ceiling for me.
Yeah.
But you can go and live and go and not live, but you live in that, but have an income of the top 1%.
Yeah.
In the change of tomorrow, but you're living in your vision. You're being disciplined.
It's hard.
That's when you know you're living in your purpose, though.
That's it.
Shout out to your husband. When I see him, bro, if I see, because I do know you. We had both at the money school. I know your face. I told Lex I'm all over social, so I'm familiar. I might see you tomorrow at the play. And if I just hug you, don't punch me, bro. It's coming from a good place, man, because look here, you are strong. I'm just trying to get some of that supportive energy he got. This has been another episode of the Art of Never Giving Up podcast. If you listened or watched today, you owe Lacey a thank you. And we out.
Thanks.